Good morning, UTLA family, students, educators, and parents. Joining us this morning, July 31st, the last day of the month. Before I get into my segment, I definitely wanted to make sure to say a special happy birthday to our ASL interpreter, Justin. I have seen educators like Jessica Rodarte and many others creating their Google Classrooms with Bitmoji. Erica Harper, who is helping other educators by creating crisis distance learning workshops to help with screen apps and more to engage our students. And educators like Annette Martinez, who at 9:50 at night is getting her teaching corner together. And by the way, it's super cute. Educators haven't stopped working. Their creative juices are continuing to flow long into the summer, and I need you all to know that whether it's late night or early mornings, I see you. We know you are the very backbone of this union. On July 17th, we lost an American icon, John Lewis. While I was fortunate enough to have met him several times, what stays with me is that last summer, a group of 30 of us, including our kiddos, went on a civil rights road trip, and we walked the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That left a huge impression on my son and myself. John Lewis reminds us, if you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, you have a moral obligation to do something about it. As the UTLA Bargaining Team works through the weekend towards a bargaining agreement, I wanted to bring something to your attention. As educators are working hard across the country to figure out the best way to provide access for our most vulnerable students, and as we are in the midst of a national conversation about racial equity, those who have relative privilege are busy constructing solutions for their own kids while leaving everyone else behind. Some wealthier parents are considering pandemic pods, where parents who can afford private teachers share educational resources with like-minded and similarly wealthy parents. This is the latest version of school segregation. This takes away more money and resources from our students and the school district in a time of great need. We must resist opportunity hoarding of these so-called pandemic pods and fight to reinvest and support public education. Our big topic today is bargaining with the district on the safe reopening of schools and improving crisis remote learning. Later on, our bargaining co-chair, Arlene Inouye, and bargaining team members, Cynthia Matthews and Gloria Martinez, will bring us updates direct from the table. They'll talk about the significant progress we've made in bargaining this week, including LAUSD agreeing to drop its proposal requiring our members to teach virtually from the classroom. There is also agreement on UTLA's proposal that there be no evaluation of permanent teachers in the 2021 school year, and we've agreed on a conceptual proposal for a smart start of the school year. We have not reached a full agreement yet, but we are close. When an agreement is reached, UTLA members will vote on that agreement. Before we dig deeper into bargaining and what teaching and learning will look like in our new school year, let's talk about the big week ahead in activism and organizing. Monday, August 3rd is a National Day of Resistance. We will be joining with sisters, brothers, and gender non-binary siblings from Chicago, Boston, St. Paul, Milwaukee, Little Rock, and Oakland to stand up for the safe, scientific, racially just, and fully funded approach to reopening schools. We are in a national crisis. It will take a national movement to protect our schools and rebuild our communities from the devastation wrought by this pandemic to fulfill the promise of the uprisings for racial justice. These are the demands that are bringing us to the streets. No return to physical schools until science and data supports it. Police free schools. Close the digital divide to boost online learning. Safe conditions like small class sizes. PPE, testing and tracing, sanitation capacity. Protect our families and communities. Prohibit evictions and foreclosures due to the loss of income during COVID-19. A safety net for all, regardless of immigration status, and the on-the-job safety protocols for all workers. Raise revenue to reopen schools like taxing billionaires and Wall Street, which are making a huge profit during this pandemic. Support revenue for our schools through Schools and Communities First, Prop 15. All schools should be community schools. More counselors, nurses, and student supports are needed. Moratoriums on new charters and co-locations. Actions will be happening all over the country on Monday. In Los Angeles, we will be meeting at 10 a.m. at the LA Area Chamber of Commerce for an action that will include the LAUSD headquarters. Please bring a mask and practice social distancing. And look in the comments for a link to the Facebook page on the event. I hope you can join us for this powerful National Day of Resistance. Next, I'd like to introduce Arlene Inoue, our UTLA Secretary and co-chair of the mighty UTLA Bargaining Team. Arlene?
Thanks so much, Cecily, and good morning to everyone on this call. Our UTLA Bargaining Team has been at the table every day with LAUSD. We're laser focused on hammering out an agreement for the 2020-21 school year. Our bargaining team is comprised of a majority of rank and file members who work in the classroom as classroom teachers or health and human service professionals. I feel every day during this COVID pandemic just how grateful I am to be able to be in a union and to have a vehicle for advocating for ourselves, our students, and having a voice with our employer, LAUSD. Who would have known that our collective strength literally saves lives by keeping our schools closed, with our members being able to work virtually while this pandemic rages? This bargaining is different than last time, and I want to be very clear that everyone understands that it is a different situation. In March, we had a very sudden closing of schools with no guidelines, and our members were adapted very well and quickly to this new virtual online learning. But this time, even though we're still on a tight timeline, because school is about to start, now we have state law, and it's SB 98, which prescribes to us daily instructional minutes. That's a requirement. So we can put in some flexibilities, but we have to follow the mandate for these instructional minutes. And as Cecily said, and as we posted, we don't have an agreement yet, but we are making really good progress, and we're determined to get one this weekend. And as you heard, they did back away from some things they put on the table originally. And the most important one is that no member will be required to teach virtually from their physical classroom. No evaluation of permanent educators. That's classroom teachers and non-classroom teachers in 2021. And they accepted our proposal for what we call a structured smart start at the school year, to be able to provide support, trainings, learning platform information, and social emotional supports for our students, families, and educators as we begin this 2021 school year. And I wanted to just mention that, we have such a large, diverse membership of about 69 different categories. So we really stress flexibility for educators in their discretion and for itinerant and HHS services. We also have listened to the voices of parents and community members. We've heard how many of you say your children are sad and anxious, and we have pushed hard on social, emotional learning and support during this time. We know that we are going to need more. This trauma, this crisis is affecting everyone. So our proposal also builds in ongoing work groups, because one agreement doesn't solve all the issues, right? There's going to be things that come up. So we have in it a technology rapid response system to address technology issues and connectivity and so forth. We have a remote learning work group to address questions that come up with remote learning, and a student and community health work group to address broader issues. That's some of what Cecily mentioned. Issues that impact our students and their families, including but not limited to state and federal funding for public schools, which we're gonna need, and economic instability, such as housing, healthcare, supports for undocumented, and so forth. The MOU that we are putting forward will begin August 3rd. That's Monday. The reason for that is because we have B-basis employees going back on Monday. So we wanted to be sure that they are included in this MOU, and it will be in full force until LAUSD students physically return to schools for regular instruction. Now, we will be bargaining after this on more issues that will be coming up, including when we physically return. I know that people have heard about a hybrid model or just a going back in model. That will all come later. So please read our full proposal. We're just giving you highlights today. There's a lot in there. And I want to call on Cynthia Matthews, a member of our bargaining team, and she's a 6th grade teacher at McKinley in the South area. Take it away, Cynthia.
All right, good morning. So as an elementary teacher, I believe that the schedule we presented to the district serves our class community and allows for the flexibility that we as educators need in order to ensure that our students are not left behind. The schedule includes 90 minutes of synchronous instruction, with each school day opening with an inclusion activity, checking on how our students are doing socially and emotionally. The synchronous instruction allows us to interact with our students in real time, teaching core subjects, giving feedback, guided peer-to-peer learning, as well as whole and small group instruction. The schedule also allows asynchronous instruction, where students can work independently, have self-guided instruction through modules or a pre-recorded teacher instructed lesson. The schedule that we have also allows time for student breaks, lunch, tiered support, and office hour. As a classroom teacher, this schedule gives me the flexibility that I need to support my students, to keep them engaged, and it enables me to work with students either in small or whole group settings at that time. So now I'd like to give it to Gloria Martinez, our Elementary Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. I just want to take a few minutes to review 2 sections of our proposal. One is our special education language, and the other is our language for early learner educators, with a focus on our members who teach at the ECE sites. In regards to special education, we are working together with the district pretty much since March to really streamline the documentation of service on Welligent. We know that that's been a big issue, especially for our RST educators. And we are also asking that that snapshot of service minutes be a bi-monthly versus a weekly intake from the district. We also know that there's going to be a great need due to the lack of guidance from the federal government, a great need to catch up on assessments when we return to campuses physically. And because of that, we have suggested some language on what an agreement would look like if we decide to proceed with continuing the assessments related to IEPs. First off, that would have to be a mutual agreement between the parent, the educator, and the administrator before it can happen. And we want to ensure that there are safety protocols in place that protect both the student, our members, and the parent that might be accompanying the child. We know that this is a serious concern for our special education educators and our service providers, so we want to be proactive and not reactive. There was mention of a Smart Start, which we think is a great idea, and we have agreed with the district on a conceptual idea. But we focus a little bit more on the specific needs of our special education teachers in our language, and we ask that some of that time be utilized to coordinate schedules between service providers and our general education teachers or SDC programs. We also know that this is a great way for us to start co-planning, co-teaching, and really address the IEP needs of our students, either with the parents or with a child if they are a little bit older. We think this is really, really important in order for us to really assess where our students are, informally assess, I should say, where our students are and what their needs are starting off the school year. We have asked for specialized professional development that focuses on the delivery of services virtually, which is the new norm that we are facing. And we are also asking for the creation of a task force because we know that there are going to be varying issues that come up after an MOU is reached that will be very nuanced to the special education population. And we want to be, again, proactive and using this task force to problem solve. In regards to our early education learners, and we define that as teaching children under 5 years. For our state preschool, early learners, and ETK, we are suggesting a day of 45 minutes of synchronous teaching. Arlene mentioned SB 98. SB 98 delineates minutes starting from TK and kinder, but is absent on the early learner grades. And so we have met with many of you and many of our rank and file members, and we think that a 45-minute synchronous teaching throughout the day is what makes most sense and is what's developmentally appropriate for our younger children. We are also asking that at our EECs, we have the student support day that mirrors the elementary campuses, and that once again, that Smart Start is utilized for the specific needs of our younger learners. So this might mean hosting parent and student workshops because this is their first time attending school. Discuss the best way of communication with our parents, but also work with the school to develop an outreach program to ensure that children in the community are engaging in our learning opportunities and enrolling in our wonderful programs. We also have requested a stipend for our early ed and state preschool educators because we know that you are severely what's the word I'm looking for? Underpaid, and we are working hard. We know that we need to do our due diligence on making sure that we bump that up. But we also know that you've created great sacrifice once we went into remote learning, and we think that a stipend would make sense and it would help you deliver the best instruction possible to our early learners. And we also, again, are focusing on asking for focused PD for the age range of 2 to 5 years old. Now, Marlene mentioned that we do not have an MOU yet. We do not have a memorandum of understanding quite yet. However, the marathon continues today and probably throughout the weekend to ensure that we get you the best language, and then we will work on contract enforcement, reviewing the MOU, and reviewing the process for a ratification vote at the leadership conference, which is next week. So now I'm going to hand it back to our Madam President, Cecily Myart-Cruz.
Thank you, Gloria, Cynthia, and Darlene. And a big thank you to our negotiations team for going the extra mile for us. For more information, please check your email often for updates and visit our bargaining update section for the latest information. Check out the link in the chat. Next week is the UTLA Leadership Conference. This will be our first virtual version of the conference. We hold every year to strategize and organize for the work ahead. The conference is open to all UTLA members and there is no cost to participate. The deadline, however, is today. Look in the comment section for the link below. If you've already registered, look for an email on Monday with conference links and information. I'm especially excited about two special events, a panel discussion with Black Lives Matter leaders. These are the names you've been reading about who have been driving the movement we saw burst first this spring. This is your chance to engage and ask questions. There will be 2 Q&A portions of the conference in addition to the core training, where we'll talk about the bargaining update, possible MOU, as well as the strategy for the fall We Rise Together campaign. So that's it for this week. Happy Friday. Until next time, be safe, take time for yourself, stay united. We are UTLA Strong.
We are UTLA Strong.
We are UTLA Strong.
We are UTLA Strong.